Are we live? I believe we're live. Hello, everyone. Okay, so hello, everyone. I'm glad to see you all here. First, I want to start off by saying if you want to comment, leave questions, leave them in the comment section, and we will answer them towards the end of the conversation. But my name is Grace Nicole. I am the senior curator here at We Too Are America. If you are not familiar with us, we are a non-for-profit organization based out of Washington, and our mission is to connect, empower, and liberate the Black community. So tonight we are having our second artist in conversation with artist Ari Brielle. A little bit about her is that she is a Dallas-born and based visual artist whose work explores the politicization of the Black American femme body, identity, and experience. Painting from photographs of women and femmes in her life, Brielle creates her own visual vocabulary that chronicles Black contemporary issues of beauty, desire, and pain. So I'm just going to say it. You are one of my favorite artists, and I'm so glad to have you here. So glad to talk to you about your piece that you wrote for us for We Too Are America called Alter, which is also the title of 2 of your pieces. Yes, so welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Grace. I also have to say I'm a huge fan of your work, and I feel like I've been sort of like watching your work progress for at least a couple of years now. And yeah, I'm really, really appreciative to be here and to be speaking with you.
Yes, actually our journey together has been interesting because I remember meeting you at my home and my roommate. That's like the first time we ever met. But who knew? Who knew
that it was so funny. You're right. Because I almost forgot about that. But yeah, your roommate did my hair.
Yes. Yes.
That's crazy.
But to get started, I'm going to have Ari read a piece or a part of her piece for us, and then we'll get into the questions.
All right. So just to give a little background about the piece, just in case there's anyone who hasn't read it yet. There's a self-portrait. It's called Alter, Self. So in my practice right now, I'm thinking a lot about the body and how we present in the world as Black feminine people, and how people respond to us and feel some sort of ownership over our bodies or feel like they can harm our bodies. So that mixed with, feeling trauma and generational trauma in our bodies, mixed with how we adorn ourselves and just all these things surrounding the body. So the piece that I wrote is very personal and about my experience with my own mental health and how that's tied to physical health. So here's a little bit from it. Let's see. I began putting the pieces together. I started to understand how oppression and stress traumatize both the mind and the body. I started seeing patterns that were there all along. When I was especially stressed, worried, anxious, or sad, my body couldn't function. The constipation and infections would come back. This understanding was huge and shaped how I move today. So that little excerpt, again, just kind of talks about my own issues that I've felt within my body, that I started to realize stemmed from these external factors, stress. I've like, maybe I've had it my whole life and I'm just now becoming aware of it, but have developed some anxiety. And so I can start to see patterns now in how my body reacts whenever I'm feeling a certain way. So that's what that is.
Yeah, I very much so enjoyed reading your piece. And I really enjoyed that you didn't give us a visual piece, is what we mainly know you for. You gave us, of course you did give us a visual piece, but I did enjoy that the main focus was written, especially during a time like that we're in now. We're in a pandemic, and we're also racial and unjust, excuse me. And I think that this was a good time to kind of highlight a personal experience in our community, see a personal experience really helps our community feel less alone. We talked about that before we got on, but I think it's important that we share these experiences, because if we're not telling them to our kids, or we're not telling them to our friends, we're not telling them to generations to come, then we will have not a good understanding of how we can heal. And so going into healing, I know you talked about going to a womb doula and having that experience of really just feeling that release and what that did for you. And girl, when I read it, I was like, I had that experience of just going somewhere and releasing and crying. And maybe not necessarily knowing that you're crying, but you knew, like, I was holding so much in. And after so many chances of going to different doctors, you were trying different things. You had been through a lot of pain for a long time. And this one time you go to a womb doula, she rocks your world. She rocks your world, and she helps you release. So knowing that we live in a society that is very patriarchal, it's very racist most times. Do you feel like, and we also know that Black women are not taken care of when we go to the, do you feel like Black people, Black women should look more to holistic options? You know what, I'm gonna go to a doctor, certain forms of medicine. Do you think that Black people should go more in the direction of being more holistic and getting that type of healing?
I mean, in short, yes. Like, I think it's important to sort of get in touch with where we came from, you know? At the same time, I would want to stress, like, while I personally really like the more holistic route for most things. For one, you really need to trust whoever you're seeing. You know, there's a lot of different information out there. And so I think a big part of it is just knowing who you're speaking to and who you're getting advice from, and knowing that what they're saying is true. And I think that kind of goes back to the community thing, because I came to know this doula through people that I know and who have seen her and worked with her and stuff like that. So I knew I was in good hands. I think that's huge, because you don't want to go to someone, especially when they're touching you and moving and shifting things in your body.
Right.
Like, you don't want to go to someone who's not knowledgeable. So like, that's big. But also I do think that, like, it's important to sort of, as with everything, have some sort of balance. So it's not like I don't see, MDs anymore. I still do if I need to. And it's not like if, say, I needed to have some procedure done, that I just wouldn't and be like, I'm natural. Like, I think it could be a good balance there. But yeah, anytime I can do the holistic route, I definitely do.
Yes. So. I think there's so much, even I still go to an MD, but she also stresses that, yes, using herbs and using things that are natural also do help, and that you should explore those things too. So like you said, it's just finding that balance. And we've talked about balance in different ways as well. Capitalism, we talked about that before recently. And it is a case-by-case sort of thing. But I also wanted to read a part from Alter that I really loved, and kind of go into conversation from there. So, the body keeps score, tallying before you even leave the safety of your mother's womb. And I thought that was really important for me because I've had several conversations this year with other Black women about how we carry so much and how that can affect the children that we may have, the children that we want to have, if that's something that we decide to do. And I spoke of the importance of telling those stories and also healing yourself. But some people, I personally, when people were like talking about like healing, I'm like, how do you do that? You know what I mean? Like, how does that happen? Where do I start? And you can say, you know, heal, but how do we do that? And especially because I feel like it is very imperative that we learn different ways of healing, especially for the generations to come. So for anybody who is just now getting into their healing, do you have any advice for them to start with?
I think like for me, it was such a natural progression, and like so it just kind of has happened over the years, and like now I can look back and be like, oh, girl, you were trying to heal yourself, you know what I mean? But like in the moment, I wasn't putting that name to it. So like for me, I think it's it's not necessarily good to let it get to this point, but like for me, I was like at the end of my rope. Like I was just like, I don't feel good. I need to know how to feel good, and I need to. So I started pouring myself into like research. I really got into like Ayurvedic principles, which is used a lot in like India and China, and that looking into like Ayurveda and this may sound like really woo-woo to people, but like again, so like I have digestive issues. I get really, really, really constipated to the point where I'm just in like pain. And so I was looking into like the different Ayurvedic principles in terms of like heat to steam up your digestion and to get that rolling. So like drinking lots of teas, eating lots of warm foods. I even like did research into like the different doshas, and like apparently mine is one, which is so interesting how again the mind and body are connected, but like the one that closely relates to me deals with like creative people who are really sensitive, and they tend to have all these internal issues because you're just receiving so much and internalizing so much and so much emotion that you can start to like feel that getting backed up in your body, like physically. So, looking into like different warming recipes to like make myself so that I could start that digestive fire, and then looking from Ayurveda and then moving into like the physical element of like, I now realize that I need to go on a walk pretty much every day, or I need to like stretch like right when I get up and like really open up my body, open up my hips, and like just like be with myself and like allow that tension to just sort of leave through movement and stuff like that. And then this year I started seeing a therapist. So like it's this progression, and I think, I guess any advice that I could give would just to be really in tune with yourself, like to learn how to be, because then you can learn what you need. Because if you don't know like what's wrong or where it stems from, then like how do you know what you even need to look for to fix it? You know what I mean? So I think that's like what I would offer. And then just talk to your friends, like you were saying, like we need to be talking to each other, like our friends, our family, people in our spaces that we trust, because we don't have to do this stuff alone. Like people have been here before, you know what I mean? And like there's almost nothing that you can come to different people in your life, with that won't understand on some level. So I think just like talking to people, like my best friend and I talk about this shit like all the time. I'm like, books we're reading or like podcasts we're listening to or teas we're trying now that are helping, just like really being in conversation with each other to help each other, because it's not easy. And like we don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, we don't. And that's the beautiful thing about Black people. I think that I would like for us to tap more in, is like leaning on each other. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what it's called. I'm like losing the name of it, but back when Black folks really just started being able to own their own things like homes and businesses, they would pour.
Uh-oh. I think I lost you.
I saw myself
okay.
drop.
I was like, no.
But
I was like,
yeah, if we drop out, we gonna come right back. It's okay. We're gonna take our time today. But yeah, so their whole thing was to pour into.
Uh-oh.
Can be words of wisdom, or it can be just like you said, sharing different notes, sharing different teas, and also I think being open with each other about what we're doing, and being open about trying new things. Because to someone who maybe has been going to an MD all their life, maybe like, well, what do herbs do for me? You know what I mean? But
Right.
you have to also find those herbs that do things for you, because elderberry might not work for you, cumin might not work for you, but there are different things that may work for you, and you have to be patient with yourself as well. But I also wanted to talk about, we are seeing a lot of different violence towards Black women that sometimes goes unnoticed, like Breonna Taylor, like Mercy Mack. And even when we tell our stories, we're often not believed, like Meg Thee Stallion, or we're killed after, I remember seeing Toyin on Twitter one day, telling her story and being like, we need to band together, we need to, be a community. And then the next week or the next days or so, we heard that she's been killed by a person that she thought she could trust.
Mm-hmm.
So it begs the question, like, do Black women feel safe right now? Have we ever felt safe? You know what I mean? Like, have we really ever felt safe? And who do we turn to? So do you feel safe? Who do you, and
Oof.
how, yeah, girl, because sometimes I don't. I'm gonna be honest, sometimes.
I don't either. My dog is like looking at me like, please pet me. No, like I was talking to, I think a classmate of mine, and I was like, dude, I don't even like walk my dog outside of my apartment complex anymore. Cause I've had multiple times where like a car would follow me, or like a man would catcall me or whatever. And you don't like, the sad thing is that like we all know that like on an internal level, like so well, that like that feeling of being in public by yourself or something and feeling unsafe and like, oh, something could happen to me right now, like, and it's not fair. Like we shouldn't have to exist in that way. And again, that itself, like that daily like understanding of again, this body that I'm in, and people for some reason wanting to feel like they can or want to harm me, that adds to the stress. That adds to the whole like your body is tallying up, keeping score every day.
Right.
So yeah, there are a lot of places that I go that I don't feel safe when I'm by myself. But I just always turn to my friends. Like I'm really, really blessed to have friends that are like family to me. So I can't say enough about like how much that has been a saving grace for me.
Yeah.
Because, like we're out here, we're 20 something, we're like living our lives and like trying to do what we want to do. And and trying to like grow up, right? And like be independent and like be adults or whatever. And I think, you know, that's great, but at the same time, we need to understand that we can lean on each other, because like there's this false like idea and narrative that like you have to do things on your own and you need to be a strong, independent woman. And you need to like, you know, not let people see you sweat and like all this stuff, and it really makes no sense. So yeah, I really do think that like leaning into those few people that you have in your life that are like friends, that are family, that's the biggest, like that's all we have is each other. You know what I mean? Like there are so many systems in place that are trying to like make sure that we survive. So like all we have is each other.
Absolutely. All we have really is each other. And I often feel like the only people I can really turn to is another Black woman. And that's just my truth. Like, that is just my truth. And that's just where I am right now. And I feel like more than ever this year, it's pointed out to us that I need my sisters. I need my friends. I need them to be around, and as they have needed me. Because I feel like right now, Black women are that's the only way we survive is if, and I said this before we got on, this week has been one of the first weeks in a long time where I felt like, you know what, my existence matters. My talent matters to somebody, and it matters to myself as well. And I hope that through this conversation, all my women, all my Black women, y'all feel empowered and y'all feel like there is a community, because there is a community here. If you want to go and follow us on Instagram after this, I am not shy. I am open to talking to anybody. Because we need each other, period. We need each other.
I just want to say, like, too, when we say women, we mean like all women of all experiences. Yeah. We're not just talking to like other cis women when we say that.
Thank you for pointing that out. Okay. Yeah. We are not, I'm not here to make life harder for another woman. I'm here to make it easier. I'm here to make it easier for you, as I hope you are here to make it easier for me. Because we go through enough. Like I said, we go through enough. And sweetie, I don't have time for it. I don't. So, man, I really love Black women, period. And with that, I want to ask, when do you feel we're the best? When do you feel the most empowered?
Ooh, this may be like a cliche or something, but probably when I'm like making something, like when I'm working on something and like it looks how, like in real life, how it does in my mind, or like it does the thing that I want it to do, I'm like, I feel good. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. Ooh, the times I feel most empowered also is when I'm working on something and I'm like, wow, you did that? Girl, you did that? Okay, you did that. Like, that's how I feel on the inside. Or when I've learned something new, during this pandemic, I've learned how to cook different things, and that's been very exciting. I love food. If you know me, you know I'm probably around the corner eating something or thinking about eating something, or exactly.
What are you cooking? I want to know.
So during the pandemic, I learned how to make biscuits from scratch.
Okay, wow.
I don't know if I'm the best at it yet, but I'm gonna get there. Because Nicole knows how to make drop biscuits, and I'm gonna get there. Like, I'm going to get there. Which I've made this before, but I feel like I've perfected it. Shrimp and grits with truffle mac and cheese. Now my truffle mac and cheese isn't
You're
perfect.
fancy, dang.
Girl, I love food. I love food. I really do. And just learning anything new for me, sometimes it's challenging, but when I finish it and I look at it and I'm like, whoa, I really did that. Like I really accomplished today. And that's honestly when I feel most empowered. Or when I have spoken to another Black woman, to be honest, that's the most when I feel empowered. I feel empowered a lot when I do talk to other Black women or my mom, because I feel like my mom she's everything. So that's when I really feel most empowered. Thank you for asking me that.
Of course, yes, you know your answer. And that reminds me too of that video we both watched this week, the Girl Trek, like Nikki Giovanni, Angela Davis video. Like, I also think I feel a lot of empowerment from elders, like hearing them just be like Nikki's energy of like, I don't look at the past, like for what? Okay. And like her just the confidence and like the wisdom that comes from like elder Black women is like, it's everything.
It is everything. I've been thinking about my grandmother lately, like just in a very different way than I have before. Really seeing her as, I think sometimes we see like our elders as like these supernova, supernatural, perfect beings, but really they're just human like us, making mistakes every day. So I've just seen my grandma as like just a real human lady, just like a lady who did what she had to do because that's what she had to do. A woman who, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here, quite literally.
Come back.
She really brought up another beautiful being, which is my mom. And I think that when we think about elders, we should also think about I think it's empowering. I'm trying to wait for it to click back on.
I know, I'm like, I missed some of that, but I feel like I understand There's like power and beauty and love in our elders, and like respecting them is like, yeah, like you said, not just these like superheroes, but like just real people that like went through real stuff and like found their way.
Yeah, absolutely. I also wanted to ask, like, in the piece you talk about releasing, and whenever I think of releasing, I know that on the other side is letting yourself be free. And I don't know if I do this enough, but what things do you practice to give yourself freedom?
Oh my God. That's a good question. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm still trying to figure all that out. Like, I recently realized that, again, like movement and like moving my body and like working out and like doing yoga and stuff really helps me. And then I'm like, I've never been a runner. And like, I always look at people who run and I'm like, wow, like kudos to you. Cause it looks, I don't know. I don't have the strength, like the stamina. But I like recently was like, I want to run. Like I want to, cause I've, just like this year has been so heavy and like, it just weighs on you. And I had a day recently where like, it all just came to a head again. Like I understand that you need to be releasing and like working through shit, but you still got to put it into practice, and so like it's a journey still. But yeah, I had like a really rough day and I was like, I feel like running. And I was like not prepared. I was like wearing jeans and like the wrong bra, but like I just went outside and like just ran and was like crying and like just really just like letting it out, you know? So I think I'm starting to realize that like I feel a lot of freedom in like movement.
Same. It's the same for me, which is interesting you said that, because I feel like a lot of the and is not seen through my photography and just by people in general, but movement, I don't know what it does. I don't know what type of endorphins I don't know what type of, what thing in the nervous system where it's just like, yes, let's release today.
Yep. Shoot.
I think freedom is about giving yourself that space. I think freedom is about giving yourself that space and that patience, to say like, this might feel awkward, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Like this might feel very out of the norm for me, but I'm gonna try it because something has to give. And I think honestly, I don't know if I would call it dancing. Maybe it's dancing, but I definitely have found myself crying after a session of movement. I remember the first time I did yoga, I cried. Like
Me
I literally
too. Me too.
Here.
Yes. Here.
Okay.
Yep, I remember that. I was like shook. I was like, why am I crying? Because I was afraid, like I was like probably in college or something, and I was like, damn, what was that?
Right. Yes. And I was in high school when it happened. And I was just like, I don't know what it was. I guess I was just feeling some stuff. Maybe I was feeling some stuff, and that was the moment. But we were in our last pose, our last position, which is just laying down on your back. It was just I need to cry because that's how I feel right now. Yeah. And after I walked out, I was like, that was the best thing ever.
That was the best thing ever. Like we were saying, like I really think like if you just let that energy just sit, like the cells start to form, and that's when the pain starts to form. Like in that same video we were talking about, the girl trek video, Nikki, the woman who interviewed Nikki Giovanni brought up that like she had a seizure, that Nikki had a seizure, and she just explained it, I guess, in her book as like, yeah, like I was holding everything in until I got done everything I had to do. And I was just like, wow, like that's insane. And like that goes back to the whole like being that pillar of strength thing that like we put not only on ourselves, but that people put onto us. So like I really do think that like when you do some sort of like therapeutic movement, like you're moving that energy out so it doesn't just collect and you don't just like, you know, start forming all these issues in your body.
Absolutely. And we deserve that. Like we deserve that release. Like you said, with everything that's put on us and everything that we take on, we deserve that. We deserve every ounce of freedom and release and movement and expression. And I think that's why I don't have necessarily as many doubts as I used to about photography, but I think a part of it, which is great, and we love that. But I think a part of it is that I know, like, I have to say something through another medium. I have to say something. My words don't necessarily come together like I want them to, but I know that if I can put it in a picture, or if I can put it in, you know, a movement, or if I can put it in, you know, a collective of pictures, I know I'll be okay.
Right.
But we gotta find something to make us feel okay. And I encourage everyone to find something that makes them feel okay.
For real. There was for my job, I was talking to one of the artists that we work with at the gallery, and we were doing like a Zoom like studio tour visit. And not a studio tour, like a walkthrough of his current exhibition. And the woman I work with, she was asking him like, "Can you explain like XYZ, or can you explain this piece?" And the artist was like, "You're asking me to put into words. Like, I'm a maker. Like, I make things. Like, that's, you know, I'm gonna try to find the best words that I can, but like, that's why I make things." And I was like, "Oh, yes, like that makes so much sense." So I feel you on that. Like, sometimes you don't have the right words, or like you do, you just don't know how to like get them out. So like finding whatever like channel works for you is like, it's huge.
Yes. And right now, I feel like
Okay, every time it freezes, you look so good on screenshot.
Are you serious?
You look so cute. You're always like smiling.
Thank you.
I don't know what she's saying, but she looks so happy.
I think it's because like,
damn, oh my God.
But yes, I can't necessarily explain it to someone else. All I know is I can put it into a photo. Let me give you a photo, okay? And y'all make of it what you will, but I'm gonna give you the photo, and that's what I have. And I think
all you need. That's all you need to have.
And I feel like as artists, like we should also be okay with that. Like I feel like sometimes we feel like we have to like explain, or we have to like have this wild explanation for why we did something. But it's like, no, I did it because that's just how I felt.
And what's the point of like explaining everything? You know what I mean? Like, then whoever's looking at your work, they have nothing left to do. Like, you already told them everything. You already told them like what they should be thinking, you know?
Right.
So
Absolutely. And so like as an artist too, do you feel like what like you painted? Because sometimes
I'm gonna need you to repeat that. I'm so sorry. Uh-oh. Grace, come back.
hello.
You're back. Okay.
Back. Okay, cool. But yes, oh yeah. So I know for myself, it's sometimes as time goes on, I feel like what I started with maybe was what I ended with. So do you feel like when you know I was feeling, did you get that last part?
Basically, like, are you talking about like, you know, starting a piece and having a certain vision and then it ends up as something else?
Yeah, so like do you feel like the written piece matches like accurately represents what you the piece alter, the visual piece alter?
I think so. I think like I'm not used to making work about myself at all. So I think there was like a lot more that I was thinking about with the altar series that is not in the piece. The whole reason I started doing these altar pieces, like adorning the body as an altar, is just because of what we were talking about before. Is like these murders of Black people at the hands of the police. Because I was, and yeah, I don't think I wrote about this at all, but I just was just thinking about all these vigils and protests and things that I've been to, and like I think I was scrolling on my phone and I was looking at pictures from this past year, and I have a bunch of pictures from the vigil for George Floyd and Breonna Taylor that happened in May here in Dallas, and like it was just, I mean, obviously like a very heavy experience that we're all collectively feeling at once. But I think I just was really interested in also like how visually beautiful those spaces were, because we made them that way, because we like people would bring flowers and fruits and like photos and things to leave to commemorate the loss of these precious lives. So yeah, like that part of like the altar series I didn't really write about, because I was writing more so just like about my experience. But like at large, that's kind of what I'm thinking, because I started to think of like, you know, taking this imagery of these commemorative like spaces that we build to collectively like grieve a person, and putting that on our physical bodies, and juxtaposing like that with like an image of a Black woman that could be slightly sexual. Like I'm in my underwear, and like, you know, the first one I did, her like she has this very strong pose and her legs are sort of like spread open, because I was just thinking of, again, just like this hypersexualization of the Black body, especially Black women and femmes bodies, and how like people then want to, at the same time they're like sexualizing us, and at the same time that they're, you know, projecting these oppressive images on us, whether it's like the mammy, the Jezebel, whatever, they then, it's all like this ownership or this power over our bodies, like naming us as whatever, and then also taking our lives whenever they please. So I just, with the altars, like that's kind of what I'm thinking. And like I wasn't really writing about that in the piece, because again, it was just more like a personal thing, but it all speaks to the same like issues of like this body, this pain, all the stuff that it houses, all the stuff that it like visibly and physically represents. So yeah, that happens all the time, like you said, like where you're working on one thing and then it just like snowballs into something else, into whatever it's supposed to be, you know.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's when it snowballs, that's kind of like the best thing. Because I think sometimes as time goes on, you kind of have a clearer vision of what you're doing. Because sometimes, honestly, like I'll start one place and I'm like, let's take some time on it. And I end up at the end, I'm like, that's where we're supposed to be. Good job that we like kind of took time to let it
let it breathe for a second, like step away from it. Yeah.
Yes. Because I think sometimes when it's in your face all the time, you're not necessarily able to see what it could be. You know, I'm not able to necessarily see what it could be if I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this project in 2 weeks. What if you're not feeling like it in 2 weeks? You know, like what if you're just not feeling like that in 2 weeks? And I just see so many different amazing Black women, femme artists emerging right now. Like Kennedy Carter just shot for Beyonce's cover for British Vogue, which is amazing. I don't know, she might see this, but girl, you're that girl when it comes to photography. She's that girl. And I see a lot of us are taking I see a lot of us really getting the limelight I think that we deserve as Black artists, women. But are you sometimes afraid that it's going to be like commodified and turned into something that is not accessible to all of us?
Ooh, I see what you're doing here, because we just talked about this.
We did.
Yes, yeah, I definitely do. Like, I mean, that's what's interesting too, and like so, it's like fascinating, but it's so, I don't know, disheartening at the same time. Is like everything we do is commodified. Like everything we touch becomes a part of like the greater American culture, even if that's not like our goal. And usually it's not. Like usually what we're doing is like for each other, and then like people on the outside see it and like take it and grab it and run with it. So yeah, like I do. I mean, I even worry like with right now all the stuff that's happening with Black artists being like, you know, in the spotlight. A lot of that is coming from this white guilt and like, you know, the social uprising that's happening on the ground, and then people feeling like they need to say something or do something to, you know, make their voices heard and like say the right thing or do the right thing. And so like that's annoying. I'm very happy that like a lot of us are getting the shine that we deserve. It just sucks that it's coming from this place of like this reactionary place.
Yeah,
like we this weekend we were talking about like the artists that we want to be, and like, you know, where we want our work to be and like live. And at the same time, like with the structure that we have now, being that artist means like your work is selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars in terms of like, I'm thinking specifically of like fine art makers, like, you know, painters and sculptors and things like that. And it's like, I don't want to do that because who's gonna buy it? Like, who can afford that? Like, and I want my work to live with, you know, the people that I'm making it for. So like, we were just talking about that, like, where do you find that balance of like being at this level or like having this reach of like some of the greats, and then also still being accessible to like who you're making the work for? Like, I don't know. Like, we talked about that for so long, and like, of course we didn't come up with an answer because like, what do, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tricky.
But you know what really helped me in that conversation though is when you said that we live in a world of contradiction. Like we're just gonna have to understand that there is contradiction
Mm-hmm.
in you wanna go. Let's see.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Hello.
I hear you. I will see you. But I agree. Like, I think I brought up that like some of the people in organizing spaces that I've like gotten closer to, like make that they just make that idea like stick in my head. Like, we can try to do all that we can, and we should be like pushing forward and pushing for change, and at the same time understand that like we're living in contradiction. Oh no, I lost her. Okay, I guess we'll wait for her to come back. Let's see. There she is.
Hi. So yes, but going back to what we were talking about, I think that honestly has helped me through the week, and like thinking like, okay, it is kind of, it's a balance. Like it's going to always have to be some type of balance and contradiction, because it's like, I like nice things. Period. I like nice things, obviously. I love food, and sometimes with food comes a different type of price tag, because that also, you know, is a form of art. But I think it's really helped me this week knowing that, like, man, it's okay to not know exactly how to work your ideas when it comes to capitalism and being commodified, because that's not necessarily an answer I think that me or you are going to answer this evening. So with that, it's patience. It's patience with yourself and knowing that, like, okay, I don't necessarily like that this is the system that we're in, but, like, how can I on a day-to-day basis, like, work towards being a system that is accessible to all of us? I don't have the answer for it when it comes to art quite yet, but that's something we can work on as a community. So community, if you have any ideas, please put them in the comments. I will be back in the comments and I want to see some answers, because I personally I'm not sure yet. I really, say it again.
No, I was just like, I don't either. And like, that's another thing, right? Again, like, it may sound annoying or cheesy, but I really think everything comes down to like balance, and like, you don't know, I don't know, and that's okay. And like, we'll figure it out. And like you said, we just have to keep working towards it, but like together, because we're gonna get there by ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I'll ask you one more, like, more so like fun question to end it off on a lighter note, because we have talked about several heavy different things today. And I'm really glad to be here with you. You know how I feel about your art. You know how I feel about you. I think you're awesome. And I think we need to hang out after this.
We do. The feeling is mutual. I'm tired of like virtual hangouts. I mean, obviously, like, we need safe, but like, I want to go get dinner.
Right.
One day.
Yes, one day. Keep social distancing.
Yeah,
wear your mask, put on your gloves, whatever you got to do, baby. But stay safe out here, y'all. Please stay safe.
We need to go.
But what is so I'm going to ask you a question, and we'll do like a call to action on where we'll do a call to action. But what is your favorite piece of art right now? Whether it be yours.
Okay, I've been looking. I think I sent you this photographer's website too. As a painter, like, I look at a lot more photography than like painting, and I think that's interesting. I feel like there's something there. But this artist named Sylvia Rossi, I think that's how you say her name. I just keep going back to her website, and like, I don't know. I think I'm just in awe. I really love her, like, solid, recognizable aesthetic. She dresses up like as her parents, and she'll take a photograph. Like, she'll dress up as her dad and like take a photograph, and dress up as her mom and take a photograph, and like is exploring her family through that way. And I think it's really cool. And I just love her eye. And I love Dina Lawson. We talk about her.
Yes,
I keep looking at her. She's just so good at image making, and like, she's so thoughtful, and yeah, like, I want to be like her when I grow up. So yeah, those are my favorites right now.
I watched she's interesting. Like, I like hearing her talk. For whatever reason, I just love hearing. I don't know if it's just like her voice or like the story she's telling or how she's telling it. I don't know. She's really great to listen to. Really great, amazing photographer that I definitely look up to as a photographer myself. And I hope she's like my fairy godmother in another dimension and world.
In this world, girl, what you mean?
This world. You're right. You're right. Because we're living in this time, and that's the blessing.
Yep.
That's the blessing. But and it can be surrounding around the conversation we had this evening. Would you like to go first, or I'll go first?
You go first. Let me think.
I wanted to do it like on the top of my head, but it is kind of hard to do it sometimes on the top of your head.
Well, if you don't have one, I can.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I guess I'll just offer to do some of the things that we said, like take care of yourself. These coming months are probably gonna be even crazier than the last few months. So like whatever you like to do, if you want to take a bath, if you want to like FaceTime your friends or read or whatever, just like take care of yourself for a moment, you know, like for a day if you can, and just like, you know, step away from your phone. That's probably the biggest thing. Actually, that's what step away from your phone. Yeah. That's my call to action, because like it's so much, and like it gets really stressful. So yeah, get off social.
Yeah, I was off social media for like 2 months.
Right.
These past 2 months, and it's been dope. I've just been out here living. I love it. For me,
I know it's gonna be good. I wish I could hear. Let's see. Miss Grace, where you at? Well, while we're waiting for Grace to come back, whoever's tuning in, just want to say thank you so much for holding space with us tonight and talking about some heavy stuff. But I'm a real big proponent that like it's not gonna all be suffering, and we shouldn't only be here to suffer. So, let's see. We lost Grace. Let's see. I wish I could see if anyone was commenting. There she is.
Hi. But yeah, so my call to action would be to keep the focus on us. Keep the focus on us and our health and our wealth. That's my call to action.
Focus on us.
And so with that, I'm going to close this artist in conversation with Ari Brielle, the amazing, everything, the wonderful Ari Brielle. Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. You can follow us on We To Our America at W2, the letter 2, AA_org. Thank you guys so much for being here. And we hope to have another artist in conversation soon. Bye, guys.
Thank you all. Bye, y'all.